What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Lucid Daily, and it has been a crazy couple of days for Lucid. And today we're going to talk about a lot more about the details about exactly what happened yesterday. We may have some more information inside of the actual company with what happened. So we're going to go ahead and dive into all the information that we have. We'll go over it together, and I'll make sure that we can all get on the same page as to what this means for the company, what this means for the stock, and everything like that. Let's go ahead and first we'll go over the stock price action for the EV sector as a whole today. We'll get into the Lucid news, and then we'll get into what we'll go ahead and cover tomorrow as well, because I think it's just as important. So let's go ahead and get started. Very first off, we have Lucid. They were up 0.6% today. They're trading at $14.70 a share, which is now below that $15 range that a lot of people have been watching. You had Tesla, they were up 3% today. Now, the only reason that I really could have seen Tesla up this much, like a lot more than Lucid today, is due to the fact that they got a phenomenal safety score. So if you want more information on that, go check out Tesla Daily, and Rob Maurer talks a lot about the safety scores today. So that's definitely, I don't know how much of an influence that had on the stock price, but nonetheless, Tesla definitely outperformed the EV sector as well as the overall S&P 500 today. Rivian relatively flat on the day with percentage, pretty volatile open. Not sure what happened there. And like I said, the Lucid and Rivian lacked behind the S&P 500 today, but Tesla definitely did outperform it. So that's just comparison. If you didn't pay attention to the market too much, that's kind of what happened with the EV sector and the S&P 500. So just pay attention to that. We haven't had it was nice to have a green day. It's been a little while since we've seen this green of a day, so that's good. All right, so Lucid Insider posted a great piece today. Now, normally Lucid Insider posts a lot of good snippets throughout the day of exactly what's going on with Lucid. However, today was an exception in terms of it being really good, and I felt like there was a lot of information. Now, just a disclaimer, there's no way we can verify the source. This was posted on the Lucid forum. I'll go ahead and start with why the source probably is true, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Let me post. Okay, so let's go right here to this bottom paragraph. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. Whoops. Let's make that line a little thinner like that. We're going to undo that. Boop, boop. There we go. All right. So it says right here. Let me circle this really quick. Okay. Now, again, this is unvetted, and I found this in a forum post, but the person who posted does not have one or two posts in the forum. He has 86 and has been an active member in the forum for several months. The vast majority of his posts in the forum are very positive towards Lucid, if that matters. So in my opinion, we're going to trust the source. If from my perspective, I do think that this is an accurate source, and this kind of goes in line with one of the narratives that we talked about in my video yesterday. So he starts off by just saying there's no debate that what's been happening these last couple of days has been pretty hectic, and they have brought in Stephen David, and he's been rebuilding and reorganizing a lot of what's going on. He's been reorganizing a lot of what is going on with operations, production, logistics, and sorts. So just they brought in Stephen David to kind of help rearrange everything, build from the ground up, because it sounds like that's about where they were, was at the ground. So again, he kind of just says this user's posted 86 times. So we should probably, if we had to, we should probably believe it. Let's go into the bullet points of exactly what this user said on the Lucid forum. So he said the new exec team was brought in to address the bureaucracy, the tribal mentality, and lack of ownership when things don't go right at the Arizona plant. So obviously it sounds like there was basically a lot of beef, miscommunication, and lack of accountability when it came to errors in the plant. Which obviously, if you have miscommunication from the top down, it just creates a toxic environment. So we have Peter has done a great job at setting up the initial line, but struggled to handle multiple responsibilities: manufacturer, operations, logistics, and QA. Now, QA means quality assurance, which we've seen multiple times when it comes to Lucid. We've seen some parts go missing or things go slower, and we know that Peter Rawlinson's not one to negotiate, whether it's quality over quantity. Quantity over quality. He's always quality over quantity. So if the QA is missing, I definitely bet that was not making Peter very happy. He wasn't able to delegate, but in all fairness, they didn't have a savvy team they did not have a savvy team to delegate. All too soft to confront bureaucracy. So it sounds like there was just a poor team, poor management, and it sounds like overall Peter Rawlinson had to clean house, which that was definitely one of the scenarios that we talked about yesterday. It gets better. Let's keep going. Let me go highlighter here. Let's go yellow. Total lack of QA quality assurance process. Worse, those who are responsible for making cars are also responsible for QAing them, meaning making sure that everything, like they have all their parts, everything's polished. Like the quality assurance is one of the most important factors for Lucid. It's their brand. The majority of those who handle QA and product validation came from the Tesla plant. Most were middle management. And even formerly low-level supervisor and even a formerly low-level supervisor at Tesla was put in charge of QA at final OK, meaning like I don't know where this is in like in Bear's Workshop's pictures, but there is a spot where they have like the final OK, go ahead, and I think it may be just outside the doors. So it sounds like at one point there was a low-level supervisor at Tesla that was put in charge of QA and final OK. Needless to say, the QA standard at Tesla wasn't that high, and I don't think that's I don't think that's much of a debate. Tesla definitely does go for quantity, not necessarily every single part is perfect, and I think that that's fairly undisputed. Trust me, I love Tesla, and I think that I throw fairly critical of Lucid, and I do think that the Tesla is just not as high of a priority to have a perfect car, and maybe there's some squeaks or some just like dirt, whatever. With Lucid, that's not their brand. Their brand is perfection when it comes to quality assurance. But Tesla had a superior logistics and product line. So that's exactly what I was saying right here is like, even though the cars weren't perfect, they had their logistics and product line flawless, nearly flawless. At least at this point, when they were ramping cars, it did not sound like that. And I've even heard from one of my personal friends who helped ramp up Giga Texas, that it was just a disaster for the first few months. And I haven't talked to her in a little while, but maybe I can get an update for you guys on that on Giga Texas. And they carry that standard to Lucid, a very basic production line and logistics, hence disaster happened. So we know that not having high QA is something that really is not what Peter Rawlinson wants for the company. Now, there's an acronym right here. It's the PMO. Now, the PMO, I Googled it. It stands for Performing Manufacturing Operations. Performing Manufacturing Operations. So the performing manufacturing operations right here was living in la la land, thinking they could set up the true just-in-time inventory. Any config could be dynamically scheduled and blended in the production line, meaning if you had ordered a Grand Touring, you could throw in a Dream Edition right behind it and be perfect. Obviously, those are probably backwards. So like if you had a Dream Edition and then you want to throw in a Grand Touring right behind it, you could do that. However, it does not sound like that was even part of the plan, or it's not even possible with the kind of way they set up the production line. So that's important to know. It's probably a lot of the supply. It's probably a lot of the production output issues that we've been seeing. While this is a common practice at big OEMs, Lucid wasn't ready for it. The end result was a bunch of cars, all missing parts. Here, let's highlight this. The end result was a bunch of cars, all missing parts here and there. Worse, both the suppliers and Lucid struggle with product and assembly of parts and cars. Lack of space magnified the problem. So it sounds like they're running out of space, which is really interesting, which is like you can see that they've put a high priority on expanding a lot of their factory in Casa Grande, Arizona. So definitely very interesting. I mean, these are a lot of things like it make like these go in like the reason I trust the source is because this really goes in line with what we've been seeing from the flyover pictures, as well as what we've been hearing on the earnings calls. And it kind of we'll summarize everything at the end, but it really does sound like this this is true from my opinion, from my point of view. And let me know down in the comments what you think, if it's true or not. So it says lack of coordination. Many shutdowns happen to retool or to try out a new idea. I don't really know what that means. Maybe just try new things to try improve it. And if you improve something, you have to shut down the whole line. That's kind of what it sounds like. The PMO, which in case you forgot, which I did, PMO stands for Performing Manufacturing Operations. The PMO, while lacking real production experience, had too much power in regard to operations. Those who were in the production line were frustrated with the direction of the PMO, QA, and manufacturing process, but their voice wasn't listened to. This right here is probably the number one red flag right here, is the fact that if you have employees that are not happy with the way that management is taking the company, you're going to have a hard time keeping employees. Your retention is going to be bad. They're not going to be as passionate about what they're working on. They're not going to, because if they're not being listened to, then why would they put that much effort into a car if they know that they said like, hey, this needs to be fixed? And management's like, yeah, right. And they have to do that part every day. They're going to think, dang, like management really doesn't care. The employee's going to leave or they're going to make a bad car. We've seen both of those. So This user added, the new executive didn't put up with a lot of nonsense and came with a lot of wounds from big established car makers where quality and logistics matter. Hence, the practice and process they're putting in are much more realistic. Also, they're quite strong and would not put up with the bureaucracy, tribal mindset of the old team. So far, things are working out better and morale of the plant are up. So this is good news. So it sounds like Peter Rawlinson. It sounds like credit to Peter Rawlinson right here, because it sounds to me like he had to clean house. He Let me put that there. So if Peter Rawlinson if he talks the way if he acts the way he talks, like inside the plant when there's no cameras on him, this was probably a huge red flag to him. And if he was hearing from PR, if he was hearing from HR that employees weren't happy, or if he was learning why employees were leaving, and he saw a lot of reoccurrences of this, it probably raised some red flags for him, and he probably came in and cleaned house. That's probably what happened, is my imagination. The product setup, inventory, and scheduling for car production are all improving quite significantly. So this is really good, actually. So like I said, this could have been either really good or really bad. And it sounds like it's for the better, that they just took out all the executives that got the product where they got the bare minimum done, and Peter Rawlinson's like, all right, time for new blood in here. Space remains issue for them, and they think once the new spaces are in operation, a lot of these issues in regard to inventory and logistics would be alleviated. So this is really interesting to me. This is the first that I've really heard of space becoming an issue. Let me see. A lot of issues in regard to inventory logistics would be alleviated. And then let's finish this last couple of parts, and then we'll summarize it with my thoughts and exactly what I think this means for the company. And we'll also talk about the really important topic that we'll cover in tomorrow's episode. He later said, he also said later on, from what I'm told, Peter Rawlinson, the CEO, in case you get confused, there's a couple Peters in the story, was too focused in efficiency, technology, and marketing, the glory of PR, being remote. That's interesting. Let me make that red. Let's circle it. Being remote. Whoops, let's make that red. Being remote and somewhat disconnected. Don't love to hear that, because he's saying, I'm in the factory. So this may just be a bad point of view. Somebody may just not be seeing what Peter actually does. Or Peter Rawlinson may just be kind of putting on a little bit of a show, saying, oh, I'm in the factory. Like those Twitter pictures of him like pointing at the car, looking like a leader. It sounds like there's still a little bit of disconnect between the CEO and employees, which is definitely not what you want. He also trusts the words of his crew at the Arizona plant and PMO too much until he realized how severe the disaster was. So, look, I think Peter Rawlinson, from right here, it sounds like he was trusting people, and he heard a lot of these complaints right here with the star, and he said, you know what, we're going to clean house. That's what I think happened. The story of the team sticking with him and company when Lucid was in many near-death experiences prior from the funding of the PIF also led to him being too soft when goals and milestones keep missing targets. I remember right before I started to really research the company Lucid, they just pushed back. They were supposed to launch during the summer, and they just pushed it back to the fall. So that may be a reference to this, is Peter Rawlinson pushing back targets. On a positive note, he said, good thing is that he and Sherry eventually took drastic action, no longer asking people to change their mindset, but rather to bring in people with their mindset. So this, I'm going to read that one more time, because I think it's probably one of the most important things in this article. On a positive note, he said, good thing is that he and Sherry eventually took drastic action, no longer asking people to change their mindset, but rather to bring people in with a different mindset. That right there, gives me somewhat of hope that Peter Rawlinson is not going to sit back and he's not going to sit back and be remote and somewhat disconnected. It sounds like he had to take the bull by the horns, be a CEO, go into the factory, knock some heads together, do whatever he had to do, and clean house. So I hope with his $500 million package that is true, that he was an active leader, and he was able to take care of business. So I'm going to venture to guess that this article is true, that this is true, what was posted on the forum. So if you guys have any comments or commentary regarding this, I'd love to chat with you guys down in the comments. But if you want 24/7 contact with me, check almost 24/7. I hardly sleep, it feels like. But if you want to talk to me all day, any day, check out the link down in the description. You guys will get lifetime access to my Discord. We can chat in the channels. I'm going to be doing a live stream just for Discord members very soon. That is going to be a fundamental breakdown of Lucid and what I expect their share price to be. Price is going up on Friday, so check the course link down below. You'll get some videos of my perspective on investing in money, but more importantly, you'll get almost 24/7 access to me in Discord where we can talk, chat, Lucid, everything like that. So, and if you're new here to Lucid Daily, I cover the good, bad, and ugly when it comes to Lucid. I am Lucid's biggest cheerleader, but I'm also their harshest critic. I'm not just one or the other. So consider subscribing if you enjoy a middle of the road perspective of a realistic investor that tries to understand what is actually happening and doesn't just try to pump the stock. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments, how accurate this is. And tomorrow, we'll be going over Warren Redlick's claims that the PIF is preparing to sell, and we'll be going over what I asked him to provide some information where he's getting this information the PIF is preparing to sell, and he sent over some information as well as a video. So I'll take a look at that tomorrow. That'll be tomorrow's adventure. So make sure you're here tomorrow afternoon or night, wherever you're watching this. Turn your notifications on, all that good stuff. I'm super pumped to be here. I have made a couple of mental decisions that I'm going to put a lot more effort into Lucid Daily. So I hope you guys enjoy my breakdowns, my opinions, and things like that. If you haven't yet, subscribe, turn the notifications on, check the link down below. The price is going up on Friday. So if you want 24/7 access, the prices are only going up from here. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And like always, see you next time. Thanks for watching.